First, 1 month ago today, parts of Maine suffered their worst flooding in more than 30 years. The heavy rains and melted snow flooded roads and homes and towns, caused many millions of dollars in damage, and claimed at least 5 lives. Hundreds of businesses were forced to shut down just a week before Christmas. That included one of Maine's biggest ski areas. But despite major damage, Sunday River and the town of Bethel were able to get back in business just in time for winter to return. 207's Don Kerrigan wanted to find out how they did it.
December 18th, and Sunday River was having a good start to the season. About 40% of the resort was already open for skiing. Then it began to rain.
It was my day off, randomly. So I started to get caught. My phone started ringing about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I knew, today something's a little different than today.
General Manager Brian Heon says he got phone calls and headed to the resort.
You could see that these rivers were flowing a little bit more than normal.
Water poured down from rain and melting snow, washing out ski trails and parking areas.
It got worse, didn't it?
Yeah, and that was one of the impetuses for us to really close for the day, is that we knew that, this was just the beginning of the rain that was coming.
And the damage. One of the rain-swollen streams roared downhill and tore up the access road to the Grand Summit Hotel, the only access road.
And you suddenly found out
Yes.
that nobody can leave.
Yes.
Meredith Harrop is Sunday River's vice president for lodging. She said there were about 100 guests at the hotel stranded.
Of course, our main concern is the safety of our guests and then making sure that their experience was as comfortable as it could be.
Away from the resort, rivers and streams were flooding Bethel and surrounding towns, eventually blocking roads, meaning many Sunday River employees couldn't go home.
Housekeeping and front desk and food and beverage team members that were living at our property and also doing their jobs and serving our guests.
Back up on the mountain,
Judging by some of the photos, you had things that looked like landslides.
Yeah, we did. We had a few landslides. We lost some land right here in front of Southridge. We also had over in the Barker area, we had some mudslides.
the ski trails and parking lots were torn up. The hotel was cut off.
You were out of business for the moment.
Yeah, we were. We closed down for, I believe, 2.5 days for the storm.
And downtown Bethel was facing its own trouble.
December 18th and 19th, 20th was really pretty devastating here in the town of Bethel.
Jesse Perkins is director of the Bethel Area Chamber of Commerce.
Right here in the village of Bethel was an island for a couple of days as we couldn't get out.
Bethel was cut off by flooded streams and rivers. Down the road from the chamber, Butcher Burger and another restaurant had several feet of water inside and out. Local businesses and the area's economic giant all shut down.
To see Sunday River having to actually not bounce back in a day or two from rain, but having to actually close down and then continuing to rebuild for such a long period of time really demonstrates how serious this flooding was.
Sunday River, Brian Heon and the whole crew began digging out.
The team just came together and understood that we had some real problem areas and what we needed to do to address those.
The work got going with some outside help.
So we had probably 10 to 15 subcontractors with excavators and skid steers. And not only were we calling them, but they were calling us saying, hey, we see what's going on. What can we do to help?
They had to dig out the landslide areas and especially get to the stranded hotel. Then fixing that giant hole in the entrance road.
Started out with an engineered logging bridge just for quick access.
He says 30 hours from the flood that ripped things apart, the first narrow bridge was open.
We were very lucky at the resort. We never lost power.
Hotel guests, she says, got through it okay.
I would say the experience at the hotel, if you didn't know you were cut off, it was like any other day. We had the pool going and the hot tub.
Up on the slopes, the ski area team worked with what snow they still had.
And people came back.
Yeah. Diehards, it's awesome.
The weather cooled, and later that week, skiing was back.
It's unbelievable what, some repair work, some fresh snow, and our guests coming back can do for not only the resort, but the team and the feeling we get here at Sunday River.
In Bethel, the town had been cut off by flooding and without power for 2 days.
And then as soon as the power came back on and the internet started to come back on, our local water system, basically the water disappeared and there was a leak, and it took another night to recover from that.
Poland Spring brought in drinking water. The chamber office filled up with it. It was a hard week for everybody, she says. Some businesses still recovering. At the resort, the hotel road got a big culvert and now has two-way traffic.
There was a day about a week and a half ago, or maybe it was 2 weeks after the event, where we said, you know what, we're moving on, right? But we've done the repairs, the team is healthy, everybody's back. Skiing is where it needs to be, and we're going forward. And I think that really started when we turned our snowmaking system back on, after the rain. That just gets everybody jazzed.
There will have to be more fixes and changes to come, they all told us, to be ready for the next big rains.
Some of that damage repair will be done in the spring and summer. Sunday River says it's going to be looking for more ways to be able to handle huge amounts of water runoff. In Bethel, where Jesse Perkins told us they almost never lose power, they'll be looking at ways to be more prepared for flooding, since climate change predictions indicate such heavy storms will almost certainly become more common.